Hey, thanks for joining us. This is Christy, co-chair for NCJAR's YPN with David Corsini. Now, no matter how long you've been in the business or how you've conducted your business, we've all had to pivot in some way as a result of COVID-19. Laura Bustos and Gavin Frater have graciously agreed to join us for today's mastermind on working with buyers during a pandemic. So let's dive right in.
Hey guys, David Corsini. Laura, great to meet you. Real quick, what steps do you take to ensure your client's safety during showings?
I always have mask, gloves. I ask them to whoever's making the decision maker, he's the one who has to be in the property. So they can't bring brothers, sisters, the kids, So when they bring kids, we leave, they go one first.
Okay.
I always have extra mask and gloves with me.
Gavin, is the average person looking at houses right now?
I don't believe so, no. One thing that I've noticed in the last couple of months is the reduction in the amount of tire kickers that we get. People who just seem to be going out looking at houses, but they're not pre-approved. They're not really looking. They're still 9 months in their lease. So that has definitely reduced, and we have a lot more serious real-time buyers right now.
Follow up on that, Gavin. Where are the buyers coming from? Where have you noticed?
There are two ways to answer that question. I think geographically, I'm seeing a lot of people coming from the 5 boroughs, Hoboken, Jersey City, kind of get out of that metropolis and move further out into the suburbs.
Right.
From a lead generation perspective, where my money's going from an advertising point of view, I'm getting a lot more from my Facebook than I ever did before. And they tend to be coming from those same geographical locations.
Awesome.
Since this pandemic, all my clients for lead generations are coming from Instagram. I had about 8 buyers just from Instagram, and they're coming from New York, a lot of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is the biggest difference working with buyers during COVID as opposed to before COVID?
I think the biggest difference that I'm seeing right now is a willingness to write offers and not willing to see houses that they're really not sure about based on photographs and virtual tours. I've done a lot of pre-showings where I've gone out to the house with my phone, and either I've recorded it and then sent it to YouTube, or I've kind of FaceTimed live so they can have a look around. And I think that has reduced the amount of tire kickers that we'll get. I think the amount of in-person showings that I'll do on a day-to-day basis has been reduced because we've been able to eliminate so much before we get there.
Gavin, have any of your buyers purchased sight unseen?
Not yet. I don't know whether it's because I'm a little bit uneasy with somebody buying a house before they've seen it, and the first time they see it, they're already under contract. I think there's a definite need to see something, but I tend to work at a I don't want to say higher price point, but I think if someone's spending $600,000-700,000 on a house, it's definitely something they're going to want to see before they part with their money.
All right, so I'm going to start with Laura. So Laura, what do you think in regards as how the market is looking? And I know that it can be different in different pockets depending on where you work and things like that. But what is your perception of the market? Is it more of a seller's market or is it more of a buyer's market right now?
To tell you the truth, I think it's both. Interest rate is really low, good for buyers. And for sellers, you put a house in the market and you get 10 offers. So I think it's both.
There's opportunity for both sides, especially right now. Thank you. And Gavin, same question to you. Is your area, the areas that you work in, are you seeing it more or less a buyer's market or more or less a seller's market?
I think if you look at it, there's 2 ways to look at it. I think geographically, I think the closer you get to New York, the more of a seller's market it becomes. And I think if you look at price points, I think anything under 550, 600 you're getting multiple bids on, and it's definitely a buyer's market. They can sit, they can choose what offers to take, they can choose what exactly they're prepared to accept from a concession perspective. I'm looking at clients in the $400 to $600 range who are going $25,000, $30,000 over asking on purchase and still not coming out successful with the bid. So I think definitely the closer into New York you are, the more of a seller's market it is. I think once you get a little bit more rural, a little bit more outside of that immediate circle, then it kind of evens itself out. But it's definitely not a buyer's market. Anybody going in to purchase a property right now expecting to be 10, 15, 20,000 under an asking price, they're just fooling themselves at the moment.
Yeah, you guys both definitely hit the nail on the head with that. And with that, because you just mentioned it, you kind of led me into the next question. So you're saying you're having some buyers that are putting 25, 30K above ask and still not getting these offers accepted, right? So what are some of the challenges, or what are some things that you're doing differently to try to get these offers accepted?
So for me, it's an understanding that the highest price is not always the best offer. So it's about structuring the deal to be good for the buyer, to make sure they're comfortable in what they're offering, but making it the most appealing deal to the seller. So I'll never forego an inspection, but I will use it for information purposes only if I have somebody who is comfortable with the look of the house. I will waive appraisal. I've got one that we just put in yesterday where we're waiving the mortgage contingency altogether because her father said, look, if we can't close this in 28 days, I'll fund the deal and then the mortgage can cover me. So it's just about finding the right mix of getting the price right, but also getting the terms of the deal right, whether it's inspection, whether it's appraisal, whether it's closing time, whether it's the amount of deposit that you're going to front end, just so that you can put a seller's agent at ease with the bid that's coming in so that they can then put the seller at ease at the end side.
You brought it in, so I love how these, as we're speaking, the questions are coming out of the answers anyway. So you mentioned already that if you're putting the house on the market and you're worried about it being underappraised, pretty much, right? Are you seeing those issues at the moment now? Are you having buyers that aren't able to purchase the home because they're being underappraised?
No, I haven't had any situation like that. Everything has been really good.
I actually want to share something because it just happened with me. Conventional loan, 20% down, house overappraised, so it's fine. That was fine on that end. The only thing, the appraiser put a condition in there that the closets had to have rods in them. The idea behind why the builder didn't do them is because anybody that comes in here is going to put California style closets anyway. So why have to put the bar in there if they're going to tear it apart? But that was the one contingency that they put on the appraisal report.
One recently where the roof was coming towards the end of its natural life, and the appraiser mentioned it in the appraisal, and we had to get a certification to say it was good for at least 2 years.
All right, so home inspections are a critical point in the home buying process. What changes, if any, are you seeing with respect to home inspections? Are buyers allowed to attend? And if not, are they okay with that? Laura.
My buyers always try to use my inspector, and he's really comfortable going in the house with the buyers. Usually I wait outside, or because I don't want a lot of people in the house, especially if it's not vacant. But he's okay with it. I haven't had any problems. But on the listing, one of my listings, only the inspector went inside and they were FaceTime with the buyer.
And Gavin, how about you?
I've got a preferred vendor when it comes to inspections who reduced the amount he was working. So we've really been trying to accommodate the inspector's comfort level when it comes to the house. So for the most part, as long as gloves and masks are worn throughout, the inspectors that I've been working with haven't really minded having both sides of a deal there. So whether it's a husband and a wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or boyfriend, boyfriend, buyers have been able to get there. what I have been saying now is, whereas a lot of buyers will bring like mom and dad and their next door neighbor's cat with them, those kind of days are done. So it's literally, if you're involved in the real estate transaction, then by all means, you should be at the home inspection. You should be able to ask the questions in real time. I don't think looking at a report and looking at a picture is really enough to be able to part with $500,000 in my view. So I encourage my buyers to be present for the home inspection so that they can ask those questions. But outside of the gloves and the mask and carrying a vat of disinfectant wipes in my car, not too much has changed.
So, I think we've covered a lot of the questions, but some things that have come up naturally is, even simple things like when we say gloves and masks, are we sort of expecting the listing agent to provide that? Do we buy that and kind of create kits for our customers and bring it? The other is we're kind of seeing a shift in as things open up, in phases, particularly in New Jersey, people are naturally feeling comfortable, maybe being out a little bit more. And now reported that between April and May, there was about a 52% increase in mortgage applications, right? That shows that maybe buyers are feeling a little bit more confident going back into the market. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that as a New Jersey, right? Like what that means for buyers. And so I don't know what question can come out of that, but I thought those were important things to share for those that are sort of in limbo and are waiting for other people to make the move first. So you guys tell me what
So I think the first question was in regards to PPE. I don't even know if I said the right letters, but yeah, PPE, personal protective equipment. Are you supplying that for your clients? Is the listing agent expected to supply it, or are buyers expected to supply it themselves?
Usually my buyers, they always come with the mask and gloves, but I do have it in my car. I have everything in my car. I don't ask the listing agent. I have it all. Like I have all the PPEs in my car for them.
So,
If sometimes I forget.
So I guess I can ask the question of, and I don't know to whom, to both Gavin and Laura. So for those who may have been in the process to buy or to sell and are sort of in a limbo and are waiting to make the move to feel a little bit more comfortable, what advice would you give for buyers and what advice would you give for sellers, considering the market right now?
For sellers, I've had Zoom listings appointments, and I go over. They ask me what about if I list it now? How I'm going to show the property, and I'm going to take the measurements. Like all the doors are going to be open. Buyers are not going to touch anything. The lights are going to be on. They're going to wear masks and gloves, and they feel more comfortable. Or sometimes I offer virtual showings. So they're like, oh, virtual showings, you do that? I'm like, yes. So, and then, we go from there, and I got the listings like that.
Yeah, and I think Gavin mentioned it earlier too. Like one thing I noticed with this market is the fluff is out, right? Like that, it's nice outside. Let me put the kids in a stroller and go into an open house that I may or may not buy, may or may not qualify for, is out of the game. And so if people are putting masks and gloves to go look at a property, A, they're serious about that property, B, they're likely going to put an offer on it, right? So perhaps, do you have sort of those conversations with your seller clients who are nervous about having people in their homes?
Yes, I do. We have more. I always tell them, like, whoever is looking for a house right now, they're serious. They're pre-approved, and sometimes I do ask for pre-approval before I show they go in the house.
So I think the current and the COVID environment is kind of forcing all of us to pivot and shift our business models, sometimes for the better. It helps us to kind of streamline processes. Sometimes they're challenging. And so, in the past, we may be a little bit more open to showing buyers who may or may not have pre-approvals, may or may not be willing to sign exclusive agreements. How has your business changed in that realm? Are you, in order to minimize risk and to ensure that only people who are qualified and will likely put an offer are going into people's homes? What are your thoughts around buyer exclusive agency agreements?
Personally, I hate them. I think any agent who isn't adept at creating relationships and loyalty will use a buyer exclusive agency just to keep a hold of somebody a little bit longer maybe than they would. I've been in sales for 24 years inside and outside of real estate. And one of the things that we have to do in sales is create a rapport. Now, there are going to be times when you can't do that, and I would never hold anybody to a buyer agreement that I didn't want to work with or that didn't want to work with me. So for me, an exclusive arrangement has never been something I've ever considered. I mean, for me, it's a case of, look, you do your best for your client, you communicate and you follow up when you say you will. And for the most part, you never need to worry about it.
Would you agree though that, and I appreciate that perspective, I think part of it, even pre-COVID, is that we have to, as industry professionals, we have to do a good job of explaining to consumers how our industry works, right? So some people may go into open houses and put an offer. They may just simply not know how that process works and how we get compensated. And so I think part of it is to continually educate the consumer about how agency relationship works. And we know that when there's an agency agreement, there is a stronger representation, there is a fiduciary responsibility, and your energy is focused on serving that client and not anything else. How do you see that perspective?
I mean, I completely understand the why. I really do. Don't get me wrong. I understand that there are agents out there who feel comfortable working with the exclusive agreement, and it gives them a sense of security. I think one of the things that as an organization, realtors do quite badly is explain how things work for sellers. You see some great advertising from the national board showing why to use a realtor, but never really explains that, look, you may work with this agent for 6 months and then you see something at an open house and you buy it with that agent because they're at the open house. And now you've just, I don't want to say wasted 6 months of someone's time, but now it's like they don't understand that. And I think as an industry, we don't explain that situation very well. I don't think that most people out there know that you don't get paid as a realtor for hosting an open house. You don't get paid as a realtor for taking somebody out. And the only time you actually get paid as a realtor is when that person has closed that deal. So from my perspective, it's always been about education. When I meet somebody, whether it's at an open house in person, if you remember back to those days when meeting in person randomly was a thing, but you explain exactly how you work and you set expectations at a very early age, very early point in the relationship. So for me, it's a case of, look, I will work my backside off to make sure that you get the house that you want, or that you sell your house is in the quickest time possible with the lowest amount of stress. This is what I will do for you. This is what I expect from you. What are your expectations of this process? And once you get through that conversation, and right now with buyers, I've been doing a lot of that on this kind of Zoom, on my Ring Central app. We've been doing that. And I think what I found in the last 8-9 weeks as we've kind of been on lockdown is the responsiveness of clients has been a lot better. So like if I'm doing a search with a client, I'll say, look, I'm going to send you houses. I'm not going to rely on you looking at the aggregated websites. I'm going to send you the houses. I want you to tell me why no. I want to tell me what you hate about the house, so that when it comes to doing my job for you, I don't have to worry that sending you one Main Street in Madison is the wrong house because the rooms are too small, or because it has an above ground oil tank, or a number of different reasons. I want to make sure that what I send you is accurate. And I think when you're adding value at that level, when your follow-up at that level is at a high level, I think you don't really have to worry about the exclusive buyer arrangement, although I do see why it's used.
Sure. So thank you for that insight, Gavin. So Laura, coming to you, what are your thoughts about buyer exclusive agreements? How do you see that in your business during COVID, pre-COVID? Has that changed for you?
Okay, all my buyers have to sign the buyer's exclusive agreement in the dual agency. That has not changed for me. I always I always make them sign the form. I usually with my buyers, I do a buyer's presentation, when, before COVID, I would sit down in my office with them, but now through Zoom, and I bring my mortgage advisor also, and we all three of us, they get pre-approved right away, and I email them the presentation that I did for them, plus I docu-sign the forms
So
agreement.
is that something, is that part of your presentation? Like, is that part of, do you say after your consultation, the next stage in our relationship or the next stage in our process is this agreement, so we're committing to each other? How do you introduce that?
I will say, we required, in order for us to start working together, I require you to sign this form. This means that I'm going to be your main realtor, your main source. You have any question of a house, you contact me. You have you go to an open house and you love the house, you text me the address and you let me know you're going there. So that's how I do it, because sometimes, when I used to meet with them in my office, I would give my business card, so just in case they go into an open house. But this way, it's, they feel more like, okay, I have to go through you. You're the person I'm signing this to stay with you. And I also say to them, if anything, it doesn't work out or anything, you let me know, and no hard feelings. We move forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I respect sort of both ways of doing business, but psychologically as humans, when we sign something, I think we're a little bit more committed, right? When we pull out our credit card, even if it's $1 and we swipe it, we're a little bit more committed. And those of us who practice real estate with, ethics, and we ask, do you have an agent before we start working with someone? Usually the answer I get is, well, there's a few agents that sent me listings, but I never sign anything. That's usually, even in the consumer's mindset, committing to an agent typically means signing something, right? So I can see this side as well.
Any hurdles in getting to closing?
I gotta be honest, I've been fairly lucky, touch wood, that I haven't had any major hurdles. With the title things, we've kind of tried to work with the same title vendors who are pretty good at what they do. I mean, we've been looking to get previous versions of title insurance so that we can utilize that as a starting point, and then the title companies have been able to do their thing. I think the biggest value a realtor brings to the team is just making sure you have a good team of professionals that you can refer out. And so even where I've had attorneys come in where I may not have worked with an attorney before, I have the conversation with my buyers. I explain what title is. I explain why I use the title companies that I do and why the benefit is. And then I let my client make the decision as to whether to ask their attorney to use my title company. So I haven't really had the issue with title. I think at the beginning of COVID, we had that whole wave of refis that kind of hit the mortgage industry, and that slowed things down a little bit. But right now, I don't really think there are that many hurdles to get it to close, other than things that come up with the house itself or with someone's mortgage processing. I think most mortgage companies are back to 30, 45-day processing time. Most home inspectors are back out and working on a daily basis, even if some are working at a slightly limited capacity. I think for title now, is again, most companies have kind of got around the process of title. So I think the only real hurdle that there is now is where are we closing and which parking lot is your client signing documents in?
Wow, definitely some great tips. I hope you all took something away today. Thank you, Laura and Gavin. This was so generous of you to share such insightful tips with us. If you found this video helpful, like, share, and tag your realtor friends below. Hope to see you soon.